We'll take it away. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our candidates here today. I'll introduce them all in a moment and they'll introduce themselves, and we've got a few questions, and there will be the opportunity for anybody that is really interested in what's going on to ask their own questions as well. So we've got Noah Beckman, who's running for President. We've got Savara Yunus, who's running for President and City West Rep. We've got Maya Gupta, who's running for President and City West Rep. We've got Ned Feary, who's running for City West Undergraduate Rep, and Zachary Gurn, who's running for City West Undergraduate Rep. So I will remind you, our candidates, that just after each question, if you'll just again state your name and remind the audience which position that you are running for. Okay, so we will get into it. I'll start off with a couple of questions to get us moving, and of course if anybody's got any questions afterwards, please feel free to put your hand up and we'll get you involved. So first of all, we've got Noah, welcome, running for President. Why have you chosen to run for the USASA board, and why should people vote for you?
Hi, my name's Noah Beckman. I'm running for the role of President of USASA. The reason that I've chosen to run, I've been on the board this year as the Mawson Lakes campus rep. I've been extremely engaged in USASA this year, trying to drive meaningful change on my home campus. However, I'd like to expand that work and now look after a variety of campuses and tackle a broad spectrum of issues, things that I'm particularly passionate about, international student rights, and ensuring that USASA provides proper, relevant services to students and make sure that the uni is held accountable to the students who they are ultimately responsible to.
Hi, I'm Savara Yunus and I'm running for President and City West Rep. The reasons I want to run for USASA is due to my previous experience in university. It wasn't a great one. I was extremely isolated and I had a horrible experience. And so it's more of an emotional impact that I want to make sure that nobody experiences that again. I want to make sure that I can do whatever I have in my power to advocate for more financial and academic advocacy. So please vote for me.
Thank you, Savara. Next we've got Maya. Once again, the question is, why have you chosen to run for USASA, and why should people vote for you?
Thank you so much. Hello everyone, my name is Maya Gupta. I am very new to Adelaide. I'm so sorry, I forgot to say that I'm running for the President and City West Campus Representative. I'm very new to Adelaide and I'm very new to uni also. So it's very difficult for me to make any promises that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Being an international student, I understand that many people do not get the facilities that USASA is providing. So I just want to fill the gap that is between the USASA's people and the student. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maya. Okay, once again the question, why have you chosen to run for the USASA board? Why should people vote for you?
I'm Ned Feary. I'm running for City West Undergraduate Representative for a second year. I've filled the role this year, and I'd like to think that I filled it reasonably capably. I believe that USASA fills a really important role in advocating for students' rights and providing students with important services that they should be deciding for themselves. I want to run for USASA board because I believe in a democratic USASA that listens to students and is run by students for students. Why you should vote for me? Because I want to represent you, I want to listen to you, I want your ideas. This year I tried to implement that with a drop-in session, but there wasn't, unfortunately, particularly much interest in that. So if you have any ideas that you want me to take to the board, I will do that. And I think that I provide competent governance, competent board experience from my time in the non-profit sector, my time on the board this year. I think I bring a wealth of experience that can benefit you and the student body as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And lastly, we've got Zachary. And once again, why have you chosen to run for the USASA board, and why should people vote for you?
I'm Zachary Gurn and I'm applying to be the City West Undergraduate Student Representative. I've chosen to apply to be a USASA rep because I feel I will be able to, with the knowledge I've gained from high school and all the leadership things I took in that, to collate everyone's views and hopefully be able to make sure that everyone's felt that they have a part in the uni and make sure everyone feel that they're actually heard. So instead of going with the majority, I want to try and collate everyone's ideas and perspectives and try and make that into one ultimate goal we can apply to our campus. And I believe people should just vote for me because I have had adequate practice and experience through leadership roles, and I will be able to apply this to make sure that everyone's voices are heard and everyone feels comfortable in their first years and later years at uni. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Zach. Okay, we'll move on to question 2, and I might get Savara to start this time. So you're running for President and City West Rep, so this question will be about what do you think are the top 2 issues for students, and you might like to talk about City West students as well, more specifically, and what will you advocate for if you're elected to the board?
Yep. So my name is Savara Yunus, and I'm running for President and City West Rep. So what I believe are the top 2 issues, and through my personal experience and that of my peers, I can really see is that it's isolation. So unfortunately, the system that we are graded under and which we are tested under isn't really an accurate depiction of who we are as individuals. And unfortunately, that plays onto a lot of our psyche, and we truly absorb that and think that's who we are. And in my power as your advocate, I want to be able to change that mindset and really show that, you know, one test on a grade isn't going to determine your future. And in doing that, I want to address that first issue of isolation. I want to advocate for more opportunities for us to work together and build sort of a community, as statistically that is a greater approach to learning rather than, you know, just locking yourself in a library, 100 Red Bulls, you know, tried and tested. It's not good for you. I'm losing hair. So, and the second issue I would see is that university is not always the real world. What we see is a fraction of the real world, and therefore in applying for real jobs and having real experience in work experience, in clerkships, we need more sort of momentum for that. And as your rep, I would love to sort of not be a pusher, but really encourage you and build confidence in yourself to go out and explore those. So those 2 issues of isolation and connecting with the sort of real world are what I identify as the greatest problems when you come to university, and my strategy for the problems that I want to sort of eradicate. Thank you.
Thanks, Savara. Before you go, though, is there anything specific that you would like to advocate for on behalf of City West students in particular?
Specifically for City West students, again, we have such a great opportunity because we're in the heart of the city. You know, it's a really great opportunity for us to engage with the CBD, really push ourselves to learn outside of the theoretical aspects of our learning. So I would definitely advocate for more ways to engage with our career prospects rather than the sort of static academic side of things.
Great, thank you very much. So I'll invite Maya up again now. So Maya, once through again, what do you think are the top 2 issues for students at the moment, and what will you advocate for if you're elected?
Okay, hi, hello, this is Maya Gupta. I'm standing for the post of President and City West Campus Representative. As an international student, I think students are not able to enjoy their life because of most of the reason is financial consequences. I think as a representative of USASA, I would like to focus on that particular part, because if a student is having a part-time job or any other thing that they can work on or develop their career or working towards their career, they would be much better. Because international students are forced to do something that they are not good in. They are doing the jobs that they do not want to do. So actually training them on the right task would be very helpful for the international students or even for the current students. I think the second issue would be that technology being very advanced, no of the students are using a physical contact with the people or actually communicating with them. The technology, if anybody has any consequences or they are facing any problems, they have actually type an email and then they get a feedback. They are not actually able to say what they actually feel. So I think I would like to work on this aspect of USASA.
Great, and what about from a City West perspective?
As a City West, as I say, I'm very new to it. It's very difficult for me to say very specifically. So I would like to take feedback from the people, what they actually feel about it. So far, I think the campus is very beautiful, and that's it.
Thank you very much. And now, Ned, I'll invite you over again. So again, running for City West Rep. So what do you think are some of the key issues or the top 2 issues for City West students, and what will you advocate for in the role?
Yeah, I'm Ned Feary. I'm running for City West Undergraduate Representative. I'd like to take a bit of a spin on this question, because I think that what's really important to discuss is the 2 biggest issues that we can actually do something about. In terms of those things that are realistic ambitions, I think that being a strong voice in the Enterprise 25 discussions is really, really important from USASA's perspective. And I think that there are 2 key elements of that which are particularly relevant to City West. So the first is in terms of campus consolidations. So with the Enterprise 25 plan closing both McGill and City East campuses, there's likely to be a massive influx of students to this campus. And that's not a threat, that's an opportunity. The university will have to be doing major capital works, building new buildings to make sure that this campus is fit for purpose to fit those extra students that will now be on this campus. That's an opportunity for us to fight for spaces that will be better used by students, spaces that better suit student learning and needs, and make sure that students are really looked after in the building of this campus, and make sure that it's a great place to learn and thrive as student life. The other thing with that is the academic restructure that's ongoing at the moment. The university's been very good at communicating about the academic restructure with us at the moment, and we hope that that continues into the future. But I think it's really important to provide a strong voice, strong communications, and people who can really get across the thoughts of students to the university. I think that's something that I'm very strong in, and it's really important that we make sure that student services, while schools and divisions transition to the model of the academic unit, that schools and divisions and the services that they provide are still being provided to students, and that the academic unit ends up with consistent student services across the university for those students at City West, so that we make sure that we've got proper academic representation structures, proper course advisor structures, and all of these sorts of things. So making sure that we have strong voices in the Enterprise 25 discussion, I think, is sort of the key issue that we need to focus on in the next year.
Thanks very much. Zach, I'll invite you forward now. And again, as City West Rep, what do you think are the 2 most important issues for City West students, and what will you advocate for if you're elected?
Yeah, I'm Zachary Gurn, and I'm applying to be the City West Rep. I believe one of the major issues would have to be the first students when they first come to university. And it being my first year, although I felt quite comfortable in my first few weeks at uni, I feel it would be really important to make sure everyone is ready to go as soon as they come into uni, because I know in the first few weeks it is quite intense for new people starting. So I'd just like to make sure everyone feels comfortable and everyone next year is ready to go, I suppose, in uni, and especially with international students, because I'm not an international student myself. I was born and raised in Adelaide, but I know a few people I've talked to and quite a few friends I've made through international students that it is even more difficult for them to come into university straight off, where they're from originally, and try and filter not only with their academic studies but also with their new sort of life and new sort of environment. The probably second issue would have to be with the technology. I'm not entirely sure of a second issue, but what I do want to do through my advocacy is, what I'm trying to do right now is not only notice issues that can be changed throughout the university, but try and go on to the City West role without any actual bias. So I want to try and, through this, if I am elected, through this process, before I start acting out as a city rep, I would like to collate everyone's views and try and, even if in person or through email, contact as many people as possible and get as many people's views and perspectives on the university and their issues as possible. And then with that, without any potential missions of myself, try and make sure everyone pretty much gets what they need and what they want through the USASA board.
Thank you very much. Now we'll have Noah, and again, Noah's running for president, so maybe from a more holistic perspective, what do you think are 2 of the top issues for students at UniSA, and what will you advocate for if elected?
Yep, so Noah Beckman, running for President of USASA. The first issue, which I think is absolutely massive for uni students, is mental health and well-being. It is extremely tough to be a uni student. It takes a big toll on you, particularly if you work on the side, if you live out of home at the same time. Juggling a social life and a study life is extremely difficult. So if I were to be elected president, I'd really want to ensure that we have a strong focus on student well-being, be that financial counselling services, which we offer, the counselling service, which is on offer as well, and also things such as the free food events that USASA offers and the well-being events such as Unitopia, all fantastic opportunities to promote student well-being. The second issue that I think really needs to be addressed is ensuring that the university is student-centric at its core. As Ned mentioned earlier with the Enterprise 25 arrangements coming around, it's extremely important at this time that our voice is heard as students. It's incredibly important that this restructure is done with students at its core and it benefits students first. All right.
Thank you, Noah. So thank you to our candidates for answering those first couple of questions. Now's the opportunity for people from the floor to put any questions forward. I do have a few backups if people haven't thought of them yet and need a little bit more time, but is there anybody who would like to put a question forward to any of the candidates at this point? Well, you're not off the hook, unfortunately, guys. We'll keep going. Okay. So another question, being a student representative, it can be a pretty tough gig because you might be elected on a particular platform and potentially you might be running with a group of students representative of certain views. But when you are elected, you are going to be required to represent all students. So we'd like to know how you're going to ensure that your voice is going to be representative of all students and maybe just not a more confined cohort. So this time we might start with Maya.
I have to see how my voice is going to be heard.
Sorry?
I have to
How are you going to be a voice for all students rather than for a narrow cohort?
I think it's a very interesting question, to be very honest. But in the uni, we are learning different subjects, and I think being from a management background, we have been taught to how to interact with people and actually get feedback from them. I still remember recently my teacher taught me how that feedback is very important and it develops being a leader because you have to have everyone's opinion. I can see a lot of people sleeping right now and we are disturbing them as per our opinion. So they might be like, you are disturbing our dream, so you are disturbing our sleep. So they may not be interested, but we as a student should try to get everybody's feedback. It's not very easy to say how people are going to accept me as a leader or something, but if I go over there to each and every person and get emails and contact them through person, then they might be able to interact with me more often.
Thank you very much. Next I'll invite Ned back. And once again, Ned, you may be running on a specific platform or with a certain group, but how are you going to ensure that your voice is representative of all students?
Yep, Ned Fury, running for City West Undergraduate Representative. There is a governance committee question behind this, but that's another story. As I said, earlier this year I tried to implement a drop-in hours program, so I sat here every Tuesday lunch hoping that people would come and talk to me about what they wanted, and no one did. So I'd try and do that again next year, but try and market it a bit more heavily, I think, and try it again. But at the end of the day, it's really hard, and we can only be representative of students if students care enough about us actually representing them. You know, I've had one student come and talk to me with a concern all year. I dealt with that concern. We worked with it, but I've only had one person talk to me all year. So I've been representative of that one person. But at the end of the day, it's about all of you here caring about the work that we do. And if you want us to work for you and represent you, then we probably have to hear from you in some way. So I'd really encourage everyone else who might be listening to this, might want us to represent you, to come and have a chat to us and see how we can represent you, how we can best help you with your concerns, because that's the only way that we're actually going to be able to do that.
Thank you, Ned. I'll invite Zach up next. So once again, you might be running on a certain platform or with a group of other candidates, but how are you going to ensure that you're representative of all students at City West?
Again, I'm Zachary Gerner and I'm applying to be the City West Undergraduate Student Representative. Something I've been very adamant on through this process is to try and collect everybody's views and as many people from the different cultures and perspectives we have at university and throughout Adelaide and Australia as a whole, to try and make sure that everyone's voices are heard and everyone gets pretty much what they want out of a USASA representative. So what I want to try and do, which I think is a major issue like Ned said, is to go out of my way and do as much actionable or action as possible to try and make sure everyone knows just how important it is that they have a say in the university. And people can't, if people want change, they'll have to go out of their way to talk to me, or will have to try and actually show me sort of what they want out of the university. So I will email as many people as possible, or have drop-in meetings, or even have a coffee with any of you to try and understand what everybody wants, and through that gain what everybody wants, but not go into necessarily specific ideas of each person, but get a general consensus of what we want as a whole and as a student board or a student team at City West to try and make some sort of action and get the best possible outcome for as many people as possible at the university. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. I invite Noah up next. So again, how are you going to ensure that your voice is representative of all students as president?
Hi, Noah Beckman, running for president of USASA. So in my time this year as the Mawson Lakes campus rep, I was constantly trying to sort of collect information from students. However, as Ned mentioned before, it is actually quite difficult. I ran an initiative every Tuesday for the whole year, free toasted sandwiches and come and talk to me. Through that, we actually interacted with a lot of students. Every week we were going through hundreds of dollars worth of free food for students, and then I was getting actual feedback from those students. However, the president's role is a little bit different to the Mawson Lakes campus role. It would be sort of more effective for me to be working with the campus reps and the various reps to actually get a holistic picture and ensure that I'm actually listening to all of them and trying to provide a holistic, actually representative model of that and lead a team which is going to be active and dedicated in working with those students.
Thank you, Noah. And finally, Savara, same question again. How are you going to ensure that you're representative of all students?
Thank you. So I'm Savara Yunus and I'm running for president and City West rep. Again, the general consensus of this is that university life is really hard. The last thing a student or myself as a student really cares about is somebody who's trying to promise me something that they can't fulfill. And in acknowledging that, it's also relevant that as a student, I have the advantage that I know what a student wants because I've had experience. So on one hand, students do appreciate that, but on the other hand, they don't want somebody who can't accomplish anything. So it's not at the top of their priority to come into the drop-in sessions. So the onus is really on us as candidates to go out and be relatable, not just have put ourselves on a pedestal, but actually involve ourselves in the initiatives such as, the amazing things that USASA board members are already doing, such as Unitopia or the Open Days, really taking those opportunities to engage with students and sort of approach them in a really approachable and relatable way to extract that information, and taking the onus on yourself as the elected role to go and understand what they really want, not just what you think they want, or being discouraged because they don't want to put forth their views. So I'm extremely resilient and I know that I want to help people, and so that's my motivation, and I'm not going to let that stop me from truly helping people in the best way that I can. And in terms of having my voice representative on the board, I have a very strong personality. However, I have great appreciation that everybody has something to contribute, and everybody has an idea and a perspective that will greatly benefit everybody, and it's about putting in that time and dedication to really collate an idea that is representative of everybody and benefits everybody in a really democratic society with those safeguards.
Thank you, Savara. Thank you to everybody for their answers to that question. Once again, I'll chuck the opportunity, and of course, Sig has got a question. So I might get Sig to ask the question, and then I'll try and summarise and repeat it.
All right, we see people in leadership positions squander that power that they're given, and we've seen USASA reps, unfortunately, squander that power and that opportunity, and they haven't delivered on their promises. How are you going to hold yourselves and each other accountable?
Thank you, Sig. All right, I'll give you a moment of thinking time, because Ned's going to be up first this time. Okay, how are you going to hold yourself accountable as a rep?
Yeah, I think that it's about having people around you and giving yourself a sense of group accountability. So I'm part of the Activate team that's running together for the board this year, and I think that having that group around you really gives you an accountability to actually go out and do something. I know that there are other people on the board who want to achieve the same things that I want to achieve, and they want me to be a part of them achieving that. I think that that's what gives you that sense of accountability, is having a group of people who you are accountable to, who you know are going to be there, because you don't always know whether students are going to be there to keep you accountable themselves. So having a group around you, keeping you accountable, I think is a really valuable thing in that sense.
Thank you, Ned. Zachary, you're up next. Okay, how are you going to be kept accountable in the role if you're elected?
Again, I'm Zachary Gurn, and I'm applying to be the City West Undergraduate Student Representative. The way I'm going to, first of all, have missions of what I want to do is not, like I said, have any particular bias. I don't already have any missions or any goals that I want to achieve myself, but what I do want to do is try and get everyone's views and make sure that everyone is heard and everyone does have a plan or does have a part in this whole USASA system. So the way I'm going to be held accountable is not necessarily through the students themselves, but through myself. I will ensure that through the year I hold myself accountable to achieve what everybody wants. So if I see that, I know that if I see that there is no change going on, or what the whole student board or the student group want, I will go out of my way again to make sure that that happens. So if I do see no change, not only through my peers telling me, but I will make sure that as much change happens and that I myself hold me accountable to make sure that that change does occur through what the students would like as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. Noah's up next. Okay.
Give me the question one more time.
Okay. I won't go into as much detail as Sig, but again, how are we going to know that you'll be kept accountable in the role of president?
Well, as the president, it's a slightly easier question to answer than as a campus rep. You have a whole board who you are responsible to lead and help. A lot of it will come down to leadership style and how you actually interact with people. I intend to try and take as much input from the board, if I'm elected president, to listen to everybody's views and actually hold myself accountable to them as well as the students. Throughout this year as Mawson Lakes campus rep, my sort of personal view was the students chose me. I was elected by them to do this, so I owe it to them to give it my best to make sure they get exactly what they elected me in for. Just damn well try your hardest, because they've trusted you and you really need to take that trust seriously as a rep.
Thank you, Noah. Savara, you're up next. How do we know that you'll be accountable in the role?
Thank you. So I'm Savara Yunus. I'm running for President and City West Rep. As stated before, that accountability is primarily from students themselves. When we put ourselves up here as your representatives, we're saying that we're capable, that we understand your views, and we've taken the time and the initiative to explore that. And in that process is the loop of feedback for those of you studying management. That feedback is positive and negative, but primarily from students. They're the people that keep us accountable. On one hand, there's those personal effects of, the disappointment, the regret, the shame, and that's a huge driving factor. But from a primarily business model, the students are who keep us accountable, and much as shareholders would keep companies accountable. And yeah, again, more specifically in terms of being on the board, it's the people who put themselves up there as board members. They're not typically the kind of people who are going to let failures slide, and that's a sort of a culture that I want to be part of, because I don't want to disappoint. I want to put myself out there and do my best to represent for students, because at the end of the day, that benefits me. When I come to uni, I want to feel like I'm included, and I want to get the most out of the $50,000 I'm paying. So that's my main goal for that. And in terms of keeping me accountable, it's the students.
Thank you, Savara. Finally, Maya. Okay, how can we ensure that you'll be kept accountable if you're elected?
Thank you so much. My name is Maya Gupta. I'm standing for the post of President and City West Campus Representative. I think change cannot be brought by one single person. It is an effort of every person. I can bring the change in my life, but I cannot bring the change in everybody's life if you are not going to initiate your own change. So I would like to say, we people are standing here, we are promising this and that, we are going to say we are going to do this, we are going to do that. Trust me, not all of us are going to keep that promise. We are humans in the end. So, but you all are given the power to elect a person that you want, the right person. So you're going to select the person that you feel is promising and correct for your behalf. So after the person is elected, you still have that power. So don't let anybody misuse the power. If you feel that person is not accounting or fulfilling his promise, make a voice, raise your voice, say something about it. You still have that power in your itself. So basically, you can keep us accountable for our performance. If you feel that some person has promised to do this, to do that, don't just let them go away with not fulfilling your promise. If you feel that he's not doing the right thing, just say it. Even after being elected, don't let them enjoy the position as the way they want to. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question, Sig. Are there any other questions from the floor? Okay. Well, I've got another question that I will put to you, and it's Zachary's turn to go first. So this question is, so from time to time you're going to have to advocate on potentially some challenging issues with people that you might have a lot of respect for, or you might already have a strong relationship with, and that might be an academic, PVC, the Vice-Chancellor for some of you as well. So what is your style, and what would make you a great advocate for student issues at the university in this situation?
I have, through my first year of uni, involved myself in many different groups and many different aspects of the university, whether that be through sport or through photography and any idea like that. So I feel like I have built quite a few strong relationships and connections with people who are at the uni. So I feel like not only using those, but using the connections that they have to try and get an idea of what everybody wants and try and make sure that I am able to communicate with as many people as possible through these strong connections that I've already built. And I'm sure not only with these strong connections I've built, but through the later process of this and through uni in the next couple of years, I'm sure I will build many more connections and many more relationships with different people that I can get from different groups and different areas and different cultures to try and get a view of what the entire student body would like and what we can achieve together, rather than a single group or a single person. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Noah, how are you going to go about, if you have to advocate for certain student issues with people that you already know, relationships that you've got, senior staff members of the university, what's your style going to be with how you approach that?
My personal style can sometimes be a little bit abrasive. However, again, the ultimate thing, regardless of the relationship that you've developed with these people, that you need to remember as an elected representative is that you are responsible to the people that elected you first. Regardless of the relationship, you need to ensure that you're going to be properly supporting the view that they want you to. Regardless of the relationship that you have developed, students come first because the students are the ones that elected you.
Thank you very much, Noah. Savara, you're up next. So once again, you might need to advocate for student issues to somebody you already have a relationship or a senior staff member that you respect highly. So what's your style going to be in approaching that and making sure you advocate for students?
I'm Savara Yunus. I am running for President and City West Rep. My understanding of the question, do you mind just repeating it one more time?
Okay, yeah. So just in terms of dealing with senior staff members, people you already have a relationship with, but it might be a challenging issue that you need to approach them on. So what's your style to approach them with?
Great. I guess as a representative, I don't have any reservations in addressing issues because I don't think personally, life is not for withholding those. I've had a lot of experiences which many people don't know about, but on the surface, I'm a mature age student. I'm not exactly your typical white Australian. So I feel that I'm not afraid to advocate for issues and approach people in solving those issues where it's probably a contentious issue. In terms of approaching people who probably have greater status greater status or representation in the uni, this is my attempt at engaging with them. This is at the core of being an advocate, that I'm putting myself out there on this board so that I can speak on behalf of the issues that often are swept under the carpet due to those issues in a democracy where there aren't safeguards, where minorities are maybe not addressed. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Savara. Maya, you're up next. So how will you go about, what will your style be if you need to advocate for student issues with senior staff members, people you already have relationships or high levels of respect?
Hi, hello, this is Maya. I'm standing for the post of President and City West Campus Representative. Being very new to Adelaide, I understand how it is like being a new person and with no friends around you. So I understand if someone is treated with special respect and understanding, they obviously feel better. The people who are already working for USASA has to be treated with special respect because they have put a lot of effort. But any new person coming with or addressing an issue should not be treated anything less. Because each person, we are standing for each and every student over here, and treating someone giving someone a special advantage and someone not would be totally unfair, because we are elected by each and every person over here and we are standing for you all. So I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ned, so what's your style going to be in dealing with people or working through challenging issues with people you might already have a relationship or senior staff members that you might have a high level of respect for?
Yeah, I'm sure Noah and anyone else who knows me can attest that I am not afraid to tell people what I think. So, yeah, I mean, I've obviously built a lot of those relationships this year, and I've certainly spoken my mind at every board meeting, every committee meeting, and every meeting with university staff that I've had. I've told them what I think and what is in students' interests. For me, it's important to listen to people's expertise, their experiences, and absolutely respect their points of view and where they're coming from. But it's really important that you stand up for what is actually needed by students. And I am never afraid to say what I think, say what students think, and say what needs to be said to anyone, regardless of their position within the university. I don't think that comes off as too abrasive, at least I hope not. But it's really important that you actually effectively communicate what needs to be communicated, what needs to be gotten across, or otherwise they're never going to change the thing that you want to change. So I guess that's my style. Listen, but stand up for yourself, stand up for students.
Thank you very much. Now, I think we've got time for one more question, and this one's a little bit different, but you'll be prepared for it. What are you most proud of in life so far? We'll start with Noah.
Thank you. Noah Beckman, running for USASA Student President. I'd probably have to say it's probably the clearest memory, but the first time I ever flew a plane by myself. I know it's not really related to business or anything like that, but it was just an utterly proud, freeing moment for me. It was just an absolute highlight of my life. But I'll give you a second one, which is a little bit more businessy. Definitely last year, when I got elected to be Mawson Lakes campus rep, little did I know what I would be doing over the year. And I'm very proud of that initial opportunity, and from there, how I've been able to grow from receiving that opportunity.
Thank you, Noah. Savara, you're up next. What are you most proud of in your life so far?
Hi, I'm Savara. What I'm most proud of in life? That's a really hard one, because Yeah, there's things that are very personal to me, and it won't really, the magnitude of it won't make sense if I just explain it in that way, but I'll try. So I'm a little bit older than everybody else here, and so I've had different experiences to everybody else. Personally, I previously studied at a different uni. I was doing a course I hated, and I really believed that I was stuck. So I was going through a really hard time, very depressed. I pushed myself away from everybody else, and yeah, I didn't really want to associate with anything. I was done, out. And reaching that rock bottom, just a tiny thing can make a huge change. And that tiny thing for me was going and being on this show called Millionaire Hot Seat. I don't know if any of you know it. So I don't know why I did it, but I applied and somehow I got on. So it happened so fast because I don't know if many of you know, but when you have a mental illness, time just goes so quickly. And so somehow I'm in the chair there and I'm facing Eddie Maguire. And I thought, I'm going to be so scared, I feel horrible, I look horrible, and I don't know what I'm doing here. But the moment I sit in that chair, this little voice just clicks and it's like, this is such a bizarre situation, but it's time to step up. You know, just as wacky and arbitrary this show is, you know, just leave it all behind. This whole life and all of this is just a reality TV show, and just enjoy it, embrace it. No one actually cares what you're doing. So that moment was so pivotal for me, and I sort of picked myself up, and from there, I'm just ready to take on life. So I'm not held back by my own chains of that anymore. And so for me, that was my greatest achievement, just getting back up on my feet and ready to help somebody else if they're ever in that same situation. I believe that's, the meaning out of that for me. That's my happiest moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Savara. I thought you were going to say you won $1 million then, but... All right. Maya, you're up next. What are you most proud of in life?
Hi, hello, this is Maya. I'm standing for the post of President and City West Campus Representative. I have many proud moments in my life, but one of the most proud moments would be a few years down the line when I was not even 20. I was so obsessed with starting a business that I wanted to start one. And I thought of many ideas, and being from an orthodox country, it was very difficult for people to start a business. And people were telling me, you're too young to start a business, you cannot do this, handling this would be difficult. The finance, the accounting, the management, the HR would all be difficult. But I was very stubborn. I am still stubborn, and I don't listen to people when it comes to what I want. So I just stepped out of the line, and I told my dad that I want to start my own business. And a step back was when he told me that you cannot do this, because he's always motivating in my life. But then I started working on my business. I looked into different ideas, and I started my own teaching firm in India. 3 years down the line, I was teaching there. I recruited a lot of people. And when people came there and they asked me for employment, being a manager over there and giving them employment was a very proud feeling, because every person is a dream to be in that particular position. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Ned, what are you most proud of in your life so far?
It's definitely a difficult question. Noah's about to tick off a square on his bingo for me talking, because I'm about to mention my charity, United Nations Youth South Australia. So I'm currently the president of the biggest youth run not-for-profit in the state, United Nations Youth. We're about educating and empowering young Australians to be active global and local citizens, and the work that I've done there has been so empowering, so inspiring. And I mean, similarly to Maya's experience in starting a business, working through so many difficult challenges to do with, finances, governance, all of that sort of stuff, which is the experience that I bring to USASA. But more than that, it's about seeing the impact that I've had on young people's lives in South Australia and Australia as a whole. I ran a study tour to China earlier this year in January, and one of the students that I took on that He's from a remote Aboriginal community in northwestern Western Australia. He was a panellist on Q&A. He was the second most popular panellist all year. He really took it to, the deputy leader of the National Party, a massive, really well-respected politician. I've had students that I've taught for 3 years, to encourage them to get out, care about the world and world issues. So we're speaking at the climate strike a couple of weeks ago in front of tens of thousands of people, encouraging them to take action and do incredible things. I've worked in remote Aboriginal communities and seen how bad the situation is, but also seen the impact that young people can have on turning lives around in those areas. It's these sorts of experiences that I've had. I ran Australia's biggest youth summit last year in July. Seeing the impact that I've had on young people's lives through all of those experiences, it just continually makes me really proud to see the impact that I've had, that my organisation has had, and I really want to bring the things that I've learnt from that experience to USASA to benefit you, the students of UniSA.
Thank you, Ned. And finally, Zachary, what are you most proud of in your life so far?
What I am most proud of is not necessarily something that I have achieved myself, but it is what myself as a team has achieved. So last year I was the house captain for my house at high school, which means with the necessary, I guess, different colours and sports day and those sort of things, for those of you who know how that all runs. I was the tennis and house captain, which was the red house captain, and we won the sports day and we won the cup at the end of the year, which was an amazing experience. Holding the trophy up in front of the entire school and all of us singing the chant was a fantastic moment. But I wasn't necessarily proud in that moment, or necessarily proud of what I have achieved, but I was proud for the amount of work that went up to that moment. Not necessarily even just the athletes who were doing their sports on the day, but what I know myself did and what the other student leaders and what the other teachers and staff did at the school to work up to that day and organise it and make it as a successful event as it was. And I feel like those sort of experience that I have gained through that, I will be able to apply next year if I do become the City West Undergraduate Student Representative, because there will be similar roles and similar experiences that I will be able to apply to ensuring that the organisation and the teamwork and the leadership skills that we used last year are used again next year to ensure that we all achieve the common goal. Thank you.
Thanks, Zachary. So we've come to the end of our questions for today. So I'd like you to put your hands together and thank our nominees and wish them all the best for their campaigns. And thank you very much for taking the time to be here and listening to what our nominees had to say. Thank you very much. Well done and good luck.